Ready? Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, baby. Oh, Sally.
Break it down now.
Welcome to Rhythm and Pixels, a video game music podcast. This is episode 27-7. That's Podcast World 27, episode 7 of our video game music podcast. Did I say that already? I probably did. We're your hosts. My name is Rob Nichols.
And I'm Purnell, and we are this game has gotten really, really long.
Really long. Once we hit level 30, I think there might be like a kill stage where like everything just dies. No. What it is the developers are getting really lazy, right? And so level 30, what is this? A water stage? You make another water stage.
More water.
More water world.
Kids love that water. Give it to them.
But we are a video game music podcast. We listen to great music from all consoles and all generations. So we pick a topic and we pick some tunes around that topic. And we listen to the music. We talk about the music. We talk about the games. We talk about everything else in between. So Purnell, today I downloaded about 5 games before I couldn't anymore on the PlayStation Network because they had a freebie.
But you know they. Wait, rewind. Are you talking about because the store shut down?
No, it was like the summer of staying inside thing where they give away free games.
I thought that was only for PS5 people. Like that was that Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, it's on there too. I downloaded that too.
Yeah, I thought those games were only if you had a PS5. So that was for anybody?
Apparently.
Interesting.
I went on there and looked up. If you hit the thing, if you hit the link, all it shows you is Horizon. And I was like, I'll download that and play it sometime, probably. I'm turning into Purnell. I'll play that sometime. And then I downloaded Rez because I always want to play Rez again. And I downloaded Thumper because I knew you said Thumper was cool. And Absu because I like really atmospheric, slow games. So I'm like,
that's the underwater game?
Yeah. Like underwater exploration. I think that's the people who did Journey.
Oh, okay. That means you'll probably love it then.
Yeah. Short and moody. That's what I want. Hopefully, I mean, it's underwater though, so hopefully I don't get sick playing it. I can't even play The Witness, so.
And it's funny too, because like you made the mention of I'm coming like Purnell's going to grab this game and never play it, and that I've actually gone a lot more minimal in the last month and a half. Like this has been such a weird time for me. Like
you were telling me this weekend.
Like a friend of mine messaged me today, like in my general text. I might have to make myself go back on social media somehow, but like it's been about 2 weeks since I've actually used social media. And one friend was like, I just realized I haven't seen you say anything in 2 weeks. Is everything okay? And I'm like, I just disappeared. I wanted to disappear, so I did. But so I haven't been doing that. But the minimal part aside from that is that I started really getting obsessed with managing and watching my spending and my money.
Yeah.
So what has resulted in is I've spent less this month than I've spent in years over the course of a month. I think I spent on myself this month, and we're almost done the month. I've spent maybe $300, $250, and that includes groceries. I've spent about $250, $300. That includes groceries and transportation gas. So it's been weird. And like the trade-off though is that since I've been doing that, I don't have my fun coping mechanism of, man, it's been a rough day. I'm going to go buy a video game or a board game. Now it's like, better go walk. And then there's other elements to that too. Like I have a PS5. Like right before I started doing all this, I did get a PS5. It's just sitting downstairs in its box in the corner.
I mean, like all that time you're not on social media, you could be playing games in a backlog or something new. But remember, I still do reviews. Oh, so you are still playing games, but
yeah, I still play games. Like, because the thing about
it's a job, so you hate it.
It's weird. It's like it does carry some of that stigma of a job, but I don't hate it because I do like, just like how I am on this show. I like talking about games, and I like hanging out with people I like and talking with them on shows. So it gives me that, and since it is a task that requires a deadline, I'm more interested in trying to do more. And then today I apparently got hit with a review that shocked the crap out of me because it's going to be hard to do. It's the entire Atelier trilogy for the Switch. So it's 3 RPGs.
Oh no!
That retails for $90 on the eShop. And Tecmo Koei was like, "Hey, you guys want to do this?" And then Joe was like, "You want to do this?" And I'm like, God, I don't
how
even
much
know
time? How many? So you only have a week to get into it?
Well, what we're gonna do is it's gonna be over the course of May because it's 3 full RPGs, and I'm not playing through any of them. So it's gonna be like 1.5 to 2 weeks per game, where I'm just gonna mess with it and get some ideas. Like, this is how the game plays. You know, this is how I feel about the characterization, and kind of give like a hot take on them. And then at the end, say, you know, what I think my favorite of them is from the time I've put in.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, because there's no way I could do them all for that. And that's the thing I feel like when it comes to a lot of these game reviews in general. Like, you look at like Kotaku reviews, and you look at, you know, places where reviews are their jobs, which I genuinely don't even think they're probably truly their jobs. Like, you look at a guy on Kotaku, I don't think that's their job. I think some of them are kind of like how we are.
Yeah, I know. I think they're freelancers. I think most people writing on the internet are just freelancers because that's how it works.
Yeah. And what that means is either they have an absurd amount of free time, or they're pretty much doing like I do. They're getting the impressions to be able to say, I didn't do as much of the game as, like, say, a completist would, but a completist also has 100 hours to just dump into a game over the course of like a month or 3, like the game was meant to be played.
A lot of people who are writing about them, like, they don't write about them right away, or they got a really early release of it, and so they can play a great deal of it.
But that's the problem. Like, the early release is more likely the result, because if you get it on release, a lot of times the idea is you want to get a review out right around the game release time, because that's when the iron is most hot. Game developers, they still have that mentality that the majority of their sales are going to come within the first 2 weeks to a month of the game's release. So people are going to be like hitting that review page on release day.
Yeah.
Because the other part of that is that, and I feel like this hits me hard too, and I'm trying to get better at it, but freaking hard, is most of the appeal these days is in the checking for reviews, the reading of the news, and the actual changing of money for product, that experience, but not the actual game itself. Like, it's hard to convey, but there might be other aspects of life where people get that feeling too.
It's less about the game developers and more about the game advertisers.
Not even the developers or advertisers. It's the entire appeal. It's like the difference between, like, I have this, when we were kids, right? The idea of being a kid was like, your mom came home and said, hey, Robbie, I got this cool game. And you're like, yay, Mario. Yeah, you pronounced it as Mario.
I did.
And then you put the game in and you played through it. You probably beat it like 5-6 times. This is the best game ever. Thanks, Mom. But as an adult, now you got money to buy your own stuff. But you're also living this enriched, full life where you're socializing, you're working, you're living, doing, fulfilling responsibility. So now what you're doing is you're talking to friends online or strangers online about, you know, press releases. This game's coming out soon. Oh, I love that franchise. I hope they do it justice. I can't wait to hear the OST. Blah, blah, blah. And then when the reviews come out, you know, oh man, they gave it a 7. It should have totally been an 8 for some dumb reason. You know, I mean, ramble about that. And then, you know, if a scandal comes out or glitches get released, they got to argue about that. But you almost rarely dive into the game and really get your hands into it. What ends up actually happening is you go through all the discussions of the announcements, the details of the game, the release itself. You buy it, you get it home, and you might dabble with it a bit. You might put it on your table. But then you immediately are moving on to the next big announcement. What's coming out next? What's going on? I can't wait to get my hands on that thing. And what ends up happening is that's where all of our big backlogs are coming from. We're chasing the next high, but we're not getting high on our own supply. We're just putting it in the corner, waiting for someone else to do it.
I don't think I've ever heard it that way before, but it sounds right.
It's so true.
Right. Yeah.
And since I stopped buying more games, it's been hitting me more, because what will happen is now I want to play something. Now, keep in mind, I am in a different situation because I still get review codes, but if I'm not buying my own stuff, it's got to be a review. I'm not getting that hit, because the hit is the transaction, not the here's your free game. It's literally the I'm buying this game. I did the work to get it.
This is when Purnell turns to a life of crime to chase that high. There's more than one way to get high, baby.
Are you snorting PlayStation 5 codes? Yes. But so, you know, so what ends up happening is now I'm looking at my actual library of games, the games I already bought, which for the record, I am now down to my last 250 gigs on my Nintendo Switch, which is normal for every other human on the planet. But I have a 1 terabyte card. So that is weird.
Yeah.
And that now I'm going to start looking at deleting games on a 1 terabyte card.
Delete the games that you haven't played that you downloaded over a year ago.
Good luck with that. It's more like, it's got to be like a more intensive dive. Like, what games just outright will never get played? Like, they're only there as like an icon, not because I actually would love to play it again. And there are a number of those. I get a lot of review games that are like nice, but when you're comparing them to thousands of other games, it's not so much anymore.
Yeah.
But so that's where I'm at now with my games. Like, I don't buy much anymore, but I like discussing them still. And I do occasionally go back to some older guys, like some of the games on today's episode, even. Like, I'm like, I want to go back and play that. And Bedroth commented on last week's episode of our show, the Tavern episode.
Yeah.
And was talking about how he also was a big fan of Dragon Quest IX. And it got me wanting to boot up my old file to see where I left off. Like, how many hours did I actually put in this game? And I should go back and beat Dragon Quest XI. I never finished it. And now I'm just like running through all these loops of games I wanted to play, but I left abandoned because I was chasing that elephant. You know? So now it's like, what do I do? It's such a weird
The
feeling.
big elephant. Well, now that we're both gotten our Fauci ouchies out of the way, it might be safe for us to
back.
Yeah, I mean, we can probably hang out again. We should be playing. There's a bunch of classics that I never got into on the NES and on the Super Nintendo, specifically RPGs, that maybe we could play together. And
That would be cool.
You can like,
or
you can,
even
hold
treat
my
them like
hand.
a book club. You treat them like a book club. Like, when it comes to RPGs, I think, and I tried that before, but it's hard to get people to go along with you, is you both play an RPG at your own pace or wherever. So in the case of the two of us, it might be better if you play a game that I've already played before. You have it. That way I can play at my own pace to get refreshed. And as you play it, you'll come at me like, oh man, here's the thing that happened. I'm like, well, clearly I haven't had as much time, so I haven't played as far up. But
so are you saying that you're busier than I am? You're
no.
More
game
wise.
No, game wise.
I'm just kidding. You got more to play. I know you got more to play. But I think that'd be really fun to do, because you mentioned that like you were watching our old Twitch stream or YouTube stream where we were playing like track and field. Like, that was fun.
And it is like I think gaming with friends is fun. Like, so I reviewed a game recently called First Class. I can't remember the damn name of it. It was like First Class Panic or something. The idea is like, think of like Werewolf, like Ultimate Werewolf. You're on a ship. I love how like this is like the longest like intro ever, but I don't care. It's fun.
Real quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
So like this game is called like First Class Trouble. You're on a space airliner. It gets a breach in the hull and oxygen seeping out. So now all the passengers are trying to find a way to repair the oxygen system and repair the hull. But there are also robots disguised as people on the ship that are trying to kill all the humans off. So the robots are trying to deplete the oxygen and get humans voted off the ship, and ultimately get them also murdered, because you can actually kill each other on the ship proper. And the humans are trying to find their way to the control room to do the work. Now, this game requires you to have voice chat, and it requires you to play online with strangers. Something I generally try to avoid like the bloody plague. Because strangers, oof. Like, I mean, the first game I got into, there was already like random race chat, and also some guys like, who wants to commit an insurrection tomorrow? Who wants to go on an insurrection tomorrow? Referring to like, the George Floyd trial. And I'm like, can I just play a game? I don't want to talk about this stuff right now. But like, the entire scenario of that first match was just like, I don't want to talk to any of these people. I want to get off of this game. The second game was a little bit better, thankfully, but again,
it's going to be it's going to be like an Among Us situation where like you got to have like a crew that you play
exactly
with. Yeah, and then like maybe maybe like those circles might extend to secondary and tertiary circles.
And that's exactly how I reviewed it too. I was like, I think this game would be great if I had a committed group of friends that would play it with me, but I'm not the type that's going to go online with strangers and play it.
And that's what's happening when these games are designed after great designs of board games, because board games are designed to be around friends or people that you're going to be friendly with. So you take away that element and you put in a whole bunch of anonymity into these games, and it's like, oh right, I can be whoever I want to be online. And of course, that's just racist and angry.
Exactly.
How does that turn into racist and angry every time? But okay, so let's talk about games with characters from other games happening in those games.
And of course,
It's called a crossover, Purnell. Now,
yes,
Merriam-Webster's dictionary describes a crossover as two things going across each other.
Oh, well, man, I'm sure they stayed up all night deliberating over that definition, but they pulled it off. Oh, mercy. But, like, the funny part is, like, you proposed the topic, you called it, you referred to specifically as, like, character crossovers, right? That was how you just stated it.
Yeah, I was like, character crossovers, and you were like, right, like, characters in other games. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And then
I went
yesterday,
somewhere way different with it.
I was like, yeah, it's like this game and this game. And you're like, okay, sure. That's a funny and you probably just like, yeah, that's a funny thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like, because it was a cool tidbit. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And I'm not going to say it out loud because I'm pretty sure, like, this one is one of the ones you picked from for the episode.
Probably. But so for all of my picks, it is characters from other franchises making appearances in other games. And
in my case, it is characters that I would like to see appear in other franchises, which, for the record, we chose these tracks over the course of like 2 days, maybe 1 day. I want to revisit this when we got more time. It's been a really busy week for both of us.
Revisit it how?
Maybe in the same capacity, just with more lead, because I think if I did what I'm doing today again, I could do it more from a game mechanics perspective and get really stupid.
Okay.
But that's going to require me to actually be like, get my hands in the putty, like really mixing around, like, here's how Bionic Commando plays, but what if you could do this with this character?
Yeah, here's mine. Scrooge McDuck with his little bouncy cane in a Mega Man game. That'd be fun.
See, that could be interesting, because like now, half the enemy robots are just getting pogo stomped. So, like those skulls on the Skull Man stage, you just have to charge up your Mega Buster to kill them. Nah, Scrooge will just pogo them to death.
All right, so you're kicking us off.
Okay, so I'll start us off with probably the most obvious one I could ever pick for such a topic. Mm-hmm. And I'll say the track first, and then when we come back, I'll say what I'm looking at when I think about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing, so you can try to guess what's happening. But yours are all fake, and mine are all real. It's never real with you, Purnell. Never real with you.
Never real. I'm just the guy who's trying to cater to the audience.
Okay.
So this first track is from Mario 3D World, and it's called Fuzzy Flood Mine, and it's composed by the Mario 3D World Big Band. There's a lot of people on that, but I don't know who they are. Welcome back. You're listening to Fuzzy Flood Mine from the game Super Mario 3D World. Mario. Composed by the Mario 3D World Big Band. And this track is one I've always adored. I was torn between this and like Chain Link Chomp Fence or whatever, which is another great track in the game. The whole OST is good.
The whole OST is fantastic. This is awesome. That little organ, like little lick there. Oh, here it comes. Here, one more. Ah, that's so cool.
They did a great job on it.
It's really clever.
And I feel like it was a good choice for this episode scenario because the character that I have in mind is one of the obvious crossovers. I'd like to see Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario 3D World. But to be more specific, I would like to see Sonic get the Shigeru Miyamoto treatment with Mario-style power-ups. So, like Tanuki Sonic, or Cat Sonic, or Mega Sonic. But in addition to that, you look at like the most recent Sonic games compared to the most recent Mario games. Like you have Sonic Forces? No, thank you. But imagine, like you think about back in the day, we had Sonic Extreme, which never came out, but people dreamed about what it could have been. We had Sonic Adventures 1 and 2. Now imagine taking Sonic as he is, the super modern speedy Sonic, slapping him into Mario 3D World, or even better, what they're looking at and progressing towards with Bowser's Fury, which was the pack-in for the 3D, the Switch version of the game, which is more of an open world exploration Mario game. And I could imagine it being so freaking fun. Like, again, Sonic with a cat suit, running at his normal speed, but then just dashing up a wall, not in normal Sonic fashion, but clawing up the wall. Do you
think it's weird though? I mean, Sonic is already an animal. So, but Mario is a human. So, Mario
human Sonic, that would be the suit.
Human Sonic.
He gets the human Sonic outfit. What's this power up do? It lets him get a job.
So Mario gets a leaf and turns into a raccoon. And then Sonic gets I don't know, a job and turns into a human.
He gets human Sonic. And the power up item is a tie, the power tie.
Yeah, he gets a tie. Paul, wait, no. Plumbers don't wear ties.
Oh, got it. Gotcha.
I got it. I remember that one. I think that's good. I mean, you're right. It might be an obvious thing, but when you think about it, it could be a really fun combination.
And the thing that bugs me the most about it is that they've been teasing a sort of union of that sort for years now because of the whole Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games franchise that picked up.
Yeah.
And they kept running with it because of how popular it was. I'm like, come on, give me a platformer or give me a traditional game with the characters intertwined in some way. It would be amazing. And the fans would clamor for it. You're like a 60-year-old man who's like, oh man, I've been waiting for this my entire life.
Well, when it comes out, you will be 60.
Most likely. And I'll be there too with my PlayStation 7 and my Nintendo Blitch.
Well, by then, after the console wars, only so many of us will survive.
That is true. Yeah. That's what it'd be called. It'd be called the Nintendo Patty Cake because, of course, it would.
The Nintendo Patty Cake.
That will be the new system in that era, and we'd be playing it. It would be great.
It's the new game control scheme is just patty cake.
And of course, in current fashion for gaming, it'll be the most powerful console ever. But we'll be playing games that look like they could have been on a Super Nintendo.
Exactly, and we would enjoy it.
You better believe it, because that's how it's been. A lot of the games I've been most excited to get that have been releasing are games that look like they could have been on a Super Nintendo. That's just how it goes. Smelter. Fantastic game so far. It looks like it could have been on a Super Nintendo. Meanwhile, I'm reading about games on the PS5 like Godfall or whatever. I'm like, I don't really care about that. I don't care about any of these games. I'm not excited or interested in any of them. So my super powerful, hard to get console is doing nothing. Meanwhile, old Super Nintendo looking games are fantastic, and I want more of them.
You're gonna get it. You're gonna get finally signed to PlayStation 5. Now I'm gonna hack it so I can run an emulator on it and play Kirby.
Pretty much. Kirby's Dream Land? Who doesn't want to go there?
All right, so we're going to go back. We're going way back to the Sony PlayStation, okay? We featured this game on our Winter Sports episode. This is Tricky Sliders, or Trick-N Snowboarder, for the Sony PlayStation. The composers are Akira Kaida and Masami Ueda. And this track is called You Got a Muffin.
I'm glad, because I love muffins.
I couldn't find... There's some lyrics in this. I couldn't find who the lyricist is, or if there is one, or I have no idea. But it's a funky track. All the tracks in this game have weird names, but this is You Got a Muffin from Trick-N Snowboarder, or Tricky Sliders in Europe.
Crazy ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Just like a sweet fluffing. AK-47, the niggas be puffing. The chronic that I smoke, and then I take turns and just that is dope. You know the flavor, the flavors on the stage. The chronic, and now you just days. Oh no, I got a flow, just hit the herb. Now the free chronic virus out there, not the birds. Just sit back and listen to the dope tracks. Never out of touch, cause my lyrics so back. Peace to El Rakubu and the Black Angel crew. Never see the darkness, the light comes. ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Crazy ragamuffin. Just like a sweet fluffing. AK-47, the niggas be puffing.
All right, you are
Niggas be
listening
fluff.
to You Got a Muffin from Tricky Sliders or Trick End Snowboarding. The composer or arranger on this one is Akari Kaida. This is a Capcom game. This is a Capcom snowboarding game with a very eclectic soundtrack. I wonder if that's Cypress Hill. That might be Cypress Hill.
All I hear is crazed ragamuffin.
Yeah. Crazed ragamuffin, something puffin, and then some drug related stuff going on. So I think it's Cypress Hill mixed in with some other stuff. It's also not really matched up to the beat, so I think it's like an old sampled situation. But okay, so this is a Capcom game, right? This is a Capcom snowboarding game that came out around the same time as Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
So you can unlock playable in the snowboarding game Leon Redfield.
Ooh.
Claire Redfield. They got married, right? Or their brother, sister?
No. Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield.
Leon
are
Kennedy.
not related.
Yeah. And then you can also play as a zombie,
Oh, that's cool.
which is kind of cool, right? Like, and at the beginning of the
That would have made me really happy back then.
they hop out of helicopters from Raccoon City and they snowboard, but it's just the character model snowboarding. It's kind of cool.
So it's the original. They're not like super deformed or anything. It's the actual models.
Yeah, it's
from
the actual models from the game. Well, it looks like it. So they just reused them into this snowboarding game.
That's pretty awesome. I would have been very excited about that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I remember now another crossover, and I promised Purnell, I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning of the game, that I wouldn't do any crossovers from fighting games because
That's cheating.
That's cheating, right? They all cross over all the time. But so I was saying, oh, the cat is all over this room. So I was saying, one of the big crossovers was that was in a magazine or was in a GamePro, was that Akuma was going to be playable in Resident Evil 2 if you beat it in a certain way as Tofu Man.
Yes, see? Right there, like, I'm glad you said that because when the topic was when you mentioned the topic thing, my first thought and why I went the direction I did was because the first thought I had was that along with Simon Belmont and Ninja Turtles, which was another like EGM prank that was played back in the day.
Way back. I'm not even sure if it was even if it was even an April Fool's thing. It was just something they did. So to play as Tofu Man, which is just a giant white block, which is just one huge hitbox in that game, you had to play through the entire game with just the knife. And then Tofu Man is even slower and only can carry a knife, right?
No, I thought Tofu was beating the game in like 2 hours or some garbage. That could have been the rocket launcher too.
No, that might have
There's
been.
so many things. There was Hunk, the rocket launcher, Tofu. Resident Evil 2 had a lot of awesome unlocks, actually.
And then the thing was, if you beat it as Tofu, you can get that. And I was working at Funscape, the arcade at the time, and like a bunch of guys were like, "Yeah, man." So I finally unlocked Tofu, and so I'm gonna be playing this all weekend. I'm gonna unlock Akuma because there was like a 3D like Akuma like pasted into a screenshot of Resident Evil.
I think he was doing a Hadouken.
Yeah, so we were all like, "Oh, that would be crazy. Wouldn't that be interesting?" And I think eventually, an old friend of mine, Ray, he, the Dragon, as me and Christy call him, he called himself the Dragon for a while. He was like, I don't know why. He did it. He actually beat Resident Evil 2 with Tofu, and nothing happened. And he was very disappointed.
And that was the thing that made those practical jokes so interesting. It was the fact that
It worked.
they were difficult enough that very few people would pull it off,
Yeah.
but also doable, which will make people want to keep trying to do it.
Like
It was
just
the perfect
doable
carrot.
enough, right?
Exactly. It's like, man, I was going to give up on this whole Tofu thing, but now if I can unlock Akuma, I'm going to keep trying. It's why the heck not? It's a smart prankster. It's a smart prank, I think. And the thing about it in the end is, like, when you don't get the reward, as long as they didn't make it like completely impossible to know it as a joke, because that's the best part of it. It has to be possible to know that it was a joke. But if long as that's the case and you try and succeed and don't get it, I don't even think you can really be fully angry about it, because like you had fun trying.
But I mean, like, okay, look, we had Leon and Claire in a zombie in a snowboarding game. And the snowboarding game was Capcom. Resident Evil is Capcom. Street Fighter is Capcom. I mean, like, they were doing some weird stuff.
Yeah, it's a logical, reasonable fake unlock, which is all a part of the goal. It's all part of the sell. It's the sell. It's the idea of saying, I believe this is ridiculous, but it's just crazy enough to be doable. It could happen. I'm gonna go for it. Yeah, but you suck at Resident Evil 2. Time to get better. Put the headband on, go to training school, and then you take those tofu dodges, because the only way you really want to beat the game as tofu is you have to pretty much map out the route entirely, because it was like essentially like since you had the knife, it was, like you were like, you're not going to fight anything really. Your whole gimmick is to dodge as much as you could and know how enemies move.
Yeah, and somehow beat bosses. You probably cheese out bosses with a knife. But
no, there weren't any. I don't think there were bosses per se, because it wasn't the full game. Hunk and Tofu, they were given like a sort of like now they refer to them as like mercenaries in a sense, but like it was like a specialized route that they programmed for those characters. It was like you start here,
that makes
you
more
run
sense.
through these
that
areas and get to the end.
A lot more. What was Hunk? I don't remember Hunk.
Hunk was an Umbrella operative that originally was just some kind of like random unlock, but then they gave him an actual narrative of like he was sent by Umbrella to get a sample. So he had to fight through Raccoon City to get to the sample.
Now, did they ever like bring him back to like other games in the franchise?
I don't quote me on this, listeners, but I want to say he was brought back in like some of the Mercenaries updates later on, like as an unlockable character in Mercenaries. And of course, he came back in the Resident Evil 2 remake that they did for PS4 and maybe Xbox One. I don't know.
Oh, now that's a question. Is Tofu in the remake?
Of course.
Excellent. Excellent.
Tofu.
Killer Tofu.
If anything, Killer Tofu.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to your second track.
All right, so this one is going to be an oddity, but I don't know. You'll hear me out, and you'll be like, "Oh, I guess I can see Purnell thinking about this bonkers nonsense." So the track, which was actually a hard choice between some good ones, is called "Bittersweet," and it's from the game Disgaea 5: Allegiance of Vengeance, and this is composed by the man Tenpei Sato.
Oh yeah, man, he's all over these soundtracks. He's so good. He is so.
Yes,
so
he
good.
is, and I think he's very unsung. Like, he's almost exclusively composing for Nipponichi nowadays, and his stuff is fantastic, but I never heard anyone talk about it, ever. Welcome back. You're listening to Bittersweets from the game Disgaea 5 Allegiance of Vengeance, composed by Tenpei Sato. Guy almost exclusively composes for Nippon Ichi, and I feel not nearly enough people give him credit where it's due, and it is so due. He makes some great stuff.
This track is going all these different places. Like, it's telling a story all on its own. There's like 4 or 5 like almost complete different movements to this track.
So great. Like, I was actually torn because I'm sure you've probably experienced it before, like where you like go through an OST and you play just from playing the game and you feel like you have this track that's your favorite, quote unquote, and that's the one you always go to where you want to go back for a re-listen. But then one day you decide to do a deep dive into the OST again, for old time's sake, and then you realize there were some tunes on there that you weren't given nearly enough credit to.
Was this one of those for you?
It absolutely was, because I originally had another track in mind, but then I just like dropped it once I listened to this. I was like, wait, I can't in good conscience not use this tune over the other one. But that one may still make an appearance on the show someday. We'll see. Now, this crossover will be a little odd and different, but it's less about, well, I guess like I said, like I mentioned in the earlier offset, like it wasn't, some of mine are less about the actual gameplay mechanics and more about just like the concepts that go into them.
Yeah, like not that this character is going to do so awesome in this game, but like just mixing it up.
Exactly. And in this particular case, it was the idea of seeing Safer Sephiroth or Kefka, God Kefka, and Disgaea. So Safer Sephiroth is the final form of Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII, when he gets the one-winged angel form. And God Kefka is, well, Kefka when he obtains godhood in Final Fantasy VI. The reason why I had this weird thought was for 2 things. Now, one is the fact that the first time I played through Final Fantasy VI and VII, and I saw those forms and the attacks they could do, most notably Safer Sephiroth, when he has one attack where he summons like a freaking meteor that cuts through the cosmos and is destroying planets on the way to you, and then if it just like smashes into your party, it's like, for all intents and purposes, it would just be your party that would be dead from that. It would be the entire planet. You're trying to prevent a meteor from crashing into Earth, and his attack is doing that already.
I know, but that's cool.
So it's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like the idea of taking these characters whose final forms, the final bosses of these massive games, are doing things that in Disgaea games, main characters can do for fun. Like, the entire concept of Disgaea games is underworlds, netherworlds, universes, and all the people who run them. Like the deities and gods and overlords that run these environments. So they could already do things like smash planets and just like eradicate nebulas. And they're joking about how they think their favorite food is like Takuban curry or some crap. So it's like, I would love to see Safer Sephiroth go into this world, or God Kefka go into this world, and be undone by just how powerful everyone in these universes are. And furthermore, it would be interesting to see that happen and have a good writer make it be like, okay, well, that means we could obtain greater power in worlds where this kind of power comes naturally to folks. What can we do here? We can become greater. And you could even take that and transfer it to some of like the human characters that you play as too, because I mean, Disgaea 1 at least, and also I remember Disgaea 3, I say all the Disgaea games had at least 1 or 2 humanoid characters in the games that, while they weren't smashing planets by the end of the game, they did have some crazy attacks that go well beyond the norm. And it'd be cool to see like a Final Fantasy character get dumped in, like, wait a minute, so I can learn Tetristar here. I thought Faraga was something.
Yeah.
Step aside, I can get Omega Flare. This is the real fire magic right here.
You get like go Kefka going crazy with power, or even like Vivi,
Yes, like Vivi doing like all the Terra magic spells. Like it would be just something interesting to see. And like, we've seen Square like go on their way and like do like crazy version things with their characters. Like what was the one? Final Fantasy World of Final Fantasy. There was one where they were like those little weird squatty puppet things that stacked on each other.
Like, this is a weird game.
It's weird. It's kind of fun, but it's also really weird. So it's like, it's not so far-fetched to think, what if they took their already established Final Fantasy Tactics formula, then take all the Final Fantasy characters, dump them all together in this weird world, but give it an extreme form of insanity that Disgaea game would have, and just see it go nuts. Like, I would be all over that, and I'm sure their fan base would be too. Like, there's not even a question about it. It doesn't need to be serious. It needs to be absurd.
Because there's crossover of players. Exactly. Players are playing both games. Now here's a crossover for now. This is a crazy crossover.
Crazy?
And probably not much of a crossover of players. All right, so we're going into Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Snake Eater!
There's a lot of music in this game, but a lot of it's environmental, like sneaking around. No one can see me, and it's just like nothing. I mean, obviously, definitely going to provide atmosphere for the game. But there are some really interesting tracks. I'm not even sure where this one plays, but I found it when I was going through the soundtrack. This is called Sailor, like a sailboat sailor, from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. This is composed by Starry.K. I couldn't find an actual name for this guy, so it's just Starry.K.
I like that as Starry.K.
Yeah. Cha-cha-cha. That was Sailor from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I think that was for the PlayStation 3. And that was composed by Starry.K.
Clash is Starry.K.
Definitely not like a pirate or like a old-timey, like salty sailor. This is like a sailor at a beach resort, you know? Hey, you want to learn how to sail today? Come on board.
Do I?
Come aboard my ship.
Okay.
Is it Mickey Mouse? What is Mickey Mouse doing on that ship?
I don't know, some kid, I don't know. He wants to sail in a boat.
I think it's weird that I was doing like a low romantic voice and you were like, hi.
Yeah!
We're not doing that.
Sailing.
So I picked this one because there is a mini game within Snake Eater where you have to catch the apes from Ape Escape.
Monkeys.
Yeah.
Still probably one of my favorite line deliveries ever in a game.
And I've heard about it. I mean, I didn't have a PlayStation 3, and I really stopped playing Metal Gear after the first one, or the first Metal Gear Solid, and so I watched a playthrough of the Ape Escape thing, and it's really just the game, but you're searching them out, and you're shooting them with a tracker bullet, and then you have to catch them, and then at the end of it, Solid Snake is so happy he dances on his toes. And then throws his hands in the air and says, I did it.
So I've never seen the ending, so that surprises me.
And there's like 5 or 6 missions within this mini game of just searching through the woods in the jungle of where you usually are in this game, finding the monkeys from Ape Escape, shooting them with a tracker, and then just running over them to pick them up. And then he goes, the dance he does is so stupid. And he goes, I did it.
And it's perfect because, I mean, since it's out of sorts for the character, out of character for the character. Right?
Yeah.
It makes sense they would go all in as like a little reward for you. Like, hey, look at him do something ridiculous that he would never do.
And so when you go and find the apes, it does play like, I'm not sure if it's music from the game or if it's like some weird little jingle they made, and it plays and it loops. But at some points, I think when you're running across the mini game, because I was in the playthrough I watched, it was going back to the weird, creepy, atmospheric music. So it was like doom 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 doom, and then there's a monkey in the corner, and he goes doom doom doom.
It's like honestly, I think that's like a perfect layering, like to combine the two franchises.
It is weird. Like, is there a reason why they combined the two?
Honestly, I feel like it was just a general. I mean, there's probably more to it that I'm not remembering, but I just feel like it was like a general cross promotion because there was also in one of the Ape Escape games an actual monkey that was like Solid Snake.
Oh yeah, that's right. I do remember.
And you had to actually catch the Solid Snake monkey.
But I could see that though, like, as the monkeys were crazy, right? So like some of them could be, I could see some of them dressing up as Mario and Luigi and like bouncing on each other's heads because they're just they're silly monkeys.
Oh yeah, because like there was only one monkey that was actually like super intelligent. The other monkeys just had helmets on that made them a bit more intelligent, but they were still monkeys.
Enough to be a problem.
Exactly. Spectre could talk and he was a genius. The other monkeys were just smart monkeys. Functional monkeys.
I do love how this song resolves at the end. Here it comes. This part right here. Ooh, cha cha cha. And, and then we're out. We're in. Just as soon as we were in that track, we were out of the track, Brunel.
We're going now.
All right, so we are on to your third.
All right, this is the one where I think is like my most like odd, but at the same time, both franchises, I wasn't really feeling like this track is perfect for the episode. But at the same time, the track I did pick is still no slouch. I still like the track. It's just, we'll see how it comes across on the listeners. And this comes from the game Dark Souls, and the track title is Crossbreed Priscilla. And I did not write the composer down for this one because I was not thinking, so I'll have to grab that on the break.
We'll find it eventually.
We'll do it in post.
We'll do it right now. All right, here we go. Crossbreed Priscilla.
welcome back. You're listening to Crossbreed Priscilla from the game Dark Souls, composed by Motoi Sakuraba, and there's a tint of shame in me not realizing that initially, because that's my boy. I guess I'm just not used to realizing he can do music that doesn't involve synths.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about like how I loved his Sega Genesis days, and I mean, I know he didn't do a lot of music on like the Mario Golf games and stuff.
All the Mario sports games was pretty much his jam.
Yeah, and then you get a Dark Souls,
and
you get this. It's very different.
Very different.
Very different.
Now, I acknowledge that, this is more of an atmospheric sound, not a particular bopper that you're going to be jiving and dancing to. But, I mean, that's what Dark Souls is pretty much known for anyway. Most of the music is either dread or something like this, but it's all meant to be atmospheric because it's meant to set the pace for, like, a boss fight or, like, the shrine hub areas that you have at the games themselves. Now, this is an odd matchup, but... And also, one of them is a game I've actually never played before, but I've always been curious about it. And the matchup would be Sigmire of Katarina from Dark Souls 1 being placed in Raise's Hell, which is an Xbox game. Now, what is Raise's Hell, for those who don't know, is essentially the idea being a game that kind of does an inversion of the typical trope. Usually games will be like, hey, here's a nice, jolly, peaceful world until the demons attacked and destroyed everything. This game is the opposite. A demon who loves his hell-ridden world. He's living the monster evil life, and then a tribe of happy-go-lucky, quacky little like block Teletubby-looking characters decide they want to spread love across the universe. So they invade his world with the intent being to spread love and kindness to all around them. And Raise ain't having it. So it's a game where basically he's fighting a bunch of cutey things that are invading his hell world. And the reason why I thought about this being a weird matchup is because, well, Dark Souls is every Dark Souls game is a terrible universe. Like, I can't imagine anyone feeling any sort of joy living in these worlds at all.
They're
and
dark.
Yet the
they
characters
are very dark.
Very dark for the souls. But the characters that you meet in these games, despite them not really getting a lot of background set up for them, they generally can be fairly likable. Most notoriously being Sunbro, the Firelink Shrine Maiden, and of course Onion Bro being Sigmire. And as jolly as that guy can be, I think it'd be interesting to see him placed in the world as the polar opposite of his world. Just a bunch of happy characters, just having a good time. Hanging out near colorful milky streams and candy cane, cascades or whatever. And the war that he'd be fighting, if any, is to bring peace and happiness to most others. Like, basically, they'd invade the Dark Souls world and just start taking out the Dark Fire Keepers and Fire Lords. Like, it would be a mess. A fantastic, goofy mess.
Goopy mess.
Like, I even chose a track from Raise's Hell, but I didn't think it would be fitting for the episode proper, but I was like, maybe as the ender, it would be pretty funny just to play it.
Well, I got one too, but maybe we can compare our final tracks together. But I like your idea of mixing those two worlds, because this one is... Dark Souls world is grim.
It's just miserable. Like, even when you beat a Dark Souls, you don't even feel good.
I know.
Just like, well, I guess the game's done.
I was watching this boss battle, and it looks brutal. Priscilla goes completely invisible and just wrecks you.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
And the world that you're in, aside from Honor Londo darkening, it is probably the nicest an environment can be in that game. It's just a frozen castle inside of a painting. It's good God. Priscilla's again, she's a crossbreed. She's half woman, half dragon.
Yeah, it's all the weird giant tail thing swinging around. Well, let's move on to something a little more friendly, a little more familiar. This is MotoGP for the PlayStation 2, composed by Yoshie Takayanagi, and this is a track called Rush. And we're back. You're listening to the track Rush from MotoGP for the Sony PlayStation 2. This track is dope.
You brought the heat. This might be my favorite from the episode.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Pick it.
Yeah, this is a Yoshie Takayanagi for MotoGP. This is a Namco game, so you better believe there is a Klonoa playable character in this game.
Really?
Yeah. Klonoa hops on a motorbike and runs the race.
Oh my god, I would play the hell out of that.
It's really
double
cute.
bonus if it ends up being like a track from Klonoa is actually like guestable in there, like one of like the racing Klonoa songs.
I don't
is
know.
playable.
I mean, I looked through the soundtrack and nothing stood out as so different. So I don't really know that for sure, but I mean, the gameplay is awesome because it is just the same game except you're Klonoa and his blue ears are like flapping behind him. It's really neat. It's really cool.
I'm going to have to look that up later. I don't want to jinx messing up the computer, but I've been looking up later because that sounds like it'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like this one. I'm glad you like this one. I was looking for something fast, with like a really fast drum section and like a little bit of guitar or some kind of heavy synth sound, just to sort of round out my picks. Because the Sailor track was pretty relaxing.
Yeah, this is the opposite. This is balls to the wall, get the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
And for the record, that might just have to be a topic just to reference that old joke, like topic balls to the wall.
I don't know if I could put that as an episode title and feel good about it.
That is a good point. We'd have to come up with some like weird, like fake version, like another version of like spherical objects on a flat surface.
Yeah, or just pedal to the metal, maybe.
There we go. That could work.
I'm sure we did racing games a number of times, and there's a bunch of like sports episodes where I was like, you know what, racing is good because there's always good music in racing games. There's almost always really good racing game music, and the tracks are always pretty long too because however long
you're meant to
track.
do 3 laps.
Yeah. Of course, like nowadays, especially with the games like Forza, like the Forza series and Gran Turismo, there's a lot of licensed music that's in it, which is cool.
Or even worse, silence. They're like, hey, we'll put the music in the menus, and then when the game's playing, we think you want to listen to silence while you're driving. Like, no. Give me at least the option to have sound. Like, I don't need to hear the engine.
I know. I remember, like, I was reading about the creation of Gran Turismo 2 or 3, and they were like, yeah, we put mics on under all of these cars. We went to these people's garages where they collected cars, and we actually ran the engines and ran the cars and got authentic sounds from each one. And I'm like, wow, I'm never going to know. They all sound like...
Now, don't get me wrong. For the authenticity of the game, I like having those sounds. But when that's all you got, no dice. I want music in the game. If I want to feel like I'm only listening to that, I'll just turn the sound off for 2 races and then put the music back on.
Yeah, or I'll just play my own music. Is what I'll probably end up doing anyway.
But there's something about even that. Like, I wanted to filter through the game. Like, I just want the music to be coming out of the game. Because like I've heard people talk about it. Like, I'll just play music on my radio to my left while the game's coming on my TV in front of me. I'm like, no. I mean, the music coming from the same place the game is.
That's what I do. Like, I was playing a lot of Street Fighter. I would just turn the music off because I was tired of listening to stage music or whatever. So I have a little speaker I have in my kitchen. I just put it in front of the TV, and I keep.
Oh, so at least it's coming from the same general direction.
Yeah. I realized it was just logistics that you had a problem with.
Well, no, at the end of the day, I ultimately will prefer an actual OST for a game. Right. Yes,
you want a full experience that's like created around it. Yeah, and I like that too. But if you're playing the same game like over and over again, I feel like sometimes,
gotta just throw your own tunes in.
Gotta throw your own tunes into it. All right. Speaking of throwing our own tunes into the hat, I mean, we are going to turn this beefy track down and get into the beefy bonus round.
Beefy bonus round with lettuce and mayo and tomato spices. What do people put on their bonus round?
Did you say terminal spices?
Yes, you have 1 month to eat.
You have 1 month to eat. It's just arsenic. It's the spice.
Gripes.
All right. So the bonus round is where we play covers and remixes and arrangements on our theme. Pernell, what you got for me?
Well, this is a hefty track, so saddle up because you're going to be listening to a lengthy tune.
Oh, really? I think mine's pretty lengthy too.
I figure it's fitting for the bonus round, and we couldn't do a crossover episode of this caliber and not use this, given what I've been into lately. So, this track is The Great Battle in the Vast Sky, aka the Dolmega's boss battle theme from the game Dragon Quest VIII. And this is done by the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra with original composition by Koichi Sugiyama. I believe this is the version in the game too, because it's just that damn good. But given how long it is and the fact that it was an orchestrated track, I think it's fitting for the bonus round too.
All right, well, let's dig in.
Welcome back. You just listened to a very lengthy track. That track being Great Battle in the Vast Sky, the final battle Dolmegus theme from the game Dragon Quest VIII. I can't even remember what the subtitles. It's like Journey of the Something King, maybe Journey of the Cursed King. But this was composed by the Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra and Koichi Sugiyama. Now, this, like, people love to talk about One Winged Angel all the time. That's always the thing. And don't get me wrong, at the time, it really was a freaking masterpiece. Like, I can't think of too many tracks that played like that back in that era, in that point in time. But there are a lot of boss tracks that need more love out there. And I feel like this is a definite one. Like, I never hear anyone reference this. It's so good.
This is really,
sweeping.
really, really good. And it's well, like, composed together for the orchestra. I mean, you can hear every section. You can hear every, like, string section, the horn section, like the percussion in the middle when, like, it turns into like a kind of a rock drum beat all of a sudden. That's really neat. That's really, really neat.
Now, like, the reason why I picked this track for the episode is because we can't do a crossover episode and not reference Ichiban Kasuga from Yakuza Like a Dragon appearing in a Dragon Quest game, because that is his absolute dream. He would lose his ever-loving mind if he somehow got teleported into a Dragon Quest game, because the character in Yakuza talks about how much he loves the Dragon Quest franchise, and it's part of what motivates him to be a hero in the first place.
I love that. I love that.
It gets such a cool concept. And of course, if he were in the actual world, he'd gain access to the ability to possibly learn magic spells and tame dragons, and actually do all the stuff that he dreams about. Like, it would be just such a cool concept. Like, there's a part in Yakuza Like a Dragon where, you know, he first starts saying, you know, we're going to help people in this city. We're going to do right by them. And him and his friends are leaving where they're crashing at, and there's just like a bat stuck in the ground, like a metal bat with barbed wire stuck in the ground. And he's like, wait a minute. And he looks at it like it's the hero's sword. And everyone's like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? He's like, I gotta pull that sword. That's a special sword. That's my thing. It's my journey. And the other character's like, it's just a bat. There's nothing special about it. So they both try to pull it out and they can't lift it out of the ground. So then, like, Ichiban goes up to him, he's like, yank, and just raises up, and it's like the sacred sword of light, just like the light shoots up, and he's the only one that can see it because, again, he's imagining all this. And the other guys are like, what the hell is he doing? It's like, don't worry about it. It's just how he is. Don't worry about it. And it's just, they do stuff like that throughout the game. Like, there's a boss fight where the boss gets he gets juiced up, and Ichiban is like, oh my god, he's got an aura. He's got a boss aura. And the character's like, what are you talking about? It's like, don't worry about that. He's coming. I don't care what he's talking about. He just looks pissed. Like,
I love that. I love that these characters aren't taking themselves so seriously. And that, like, they even these new game characters have nostalgia for these older games and want to, like, be inside of them, you know, and it's their motivation. This game character is motivated by an older game character.
Yeah. And it's so unprecedented. Like, and that's why, like, you hear me, like, just generally bring up, like, how much I love Yakuza Like a Dragon. And I'm like, I want to see more stuff like this. But quite frankly, though they could always bring back, you know, the battle system and refine it and all that good stuff, as far as the actual characters and that setup, I think that's a one-time thing, because you can't, that thing is just like lightning in a bottle to me. They could always bring Ichiban back for another game, but it won't be the same as his introduction and seeing them do this for the first time. It worked so friggin' well. I love that game to death. And I feel like if I would pay good, hard cash if they collaborated with Square and made a game where he was in a Dragon Quest game and the entire premise was him being the hero in a Dragon Quest world.
That would be
I would
awesome.
be all over it.
That would be the perfect crossover. And okay, hold on. Sorry, the cat's pulling my headphones out of my ears. All right, come on.
He's like, I just want you to pay attention to only me.
I know he wants to be on my lap so bad, but, like, I don't have the cords. I don't have the length of the cord to stay in my ears. Anyway, I love that idea, and I hope it does happen one day. And maybe even if it's just like a little weird mini game in the next Yakuza game where it's just like suddenly you're in Dragon Quest world and it's him running around.
It would be so great.
That would be awesome.
Or if you're listening, guys, please do it. You'll make money.
All right, so mine is another crossover that happened. There's actually a lot of crossovers in this game. This is Super Bomberman R, and I think it came out on the Wii or the Wii U. And
Not Switch.
was on the
and
Switch.
I think eventually the PS4 and Xbox got Super Bomberman R like Gold Edition or something.
There's a lot of crazy DLC for this. A lot of crazy DLC, which gives you some really strange character options. You can be the Vic Viper from Gradius running around throwing bombs. You could be Simon Belmont, which I'm calling Simon Bombmont.
You could be the characters from Poppin' Music.
You can be Pyramid Head from Silent Hill 2 or Silent Hill 3, where he actually, it's terrifying. He's got the helmet and he runs around with a giant sword. In a Bomberman game, it just seems kind of out of place. But we're going to listen to the ending theme song, which is called Hero, composed by Seima Iwahashi and lyrics by RUCCA. That is a RUCCA, which is an alias for Takaki Mizoguchi.
君がい代わりはいないよ私だけのヒーローまた寝坊して駆け出してく街青信号を人波を泳ぐ考えすぎちゃう癖で転ぶ私を知ってたの君はずっと待っていたねいつからだろうその笑顔惹かれていたよ飾らない優しさ月が始まってゆく世界中代わりはいないよ私だけのヒーロー目立つのが苦手なところがちょっと可愛いヒーローまっすぐな瞳が好きだよいつもどんな時も誰も気づいてないけど私には君がヒーロー横が外れてぽつりと泣き空傘もなく街並みは濡れる似たようなことがずっと前にあったね覚えてる君はさっと傘をくれた何回でも胸の奥リフレインするありがとうそれ以上君に送りたいんだ世界中ただ一人だけ私だけのヒーローどうしても寝癖が立っちゃうちょっとドジなヒーロー不器用な仕草も好きだよずっと変わらないでママからの情が嘘だぶそれだって君はヒーロ悲しい時も嬉しい時も一人じゃないそう思える君がいれば伝えたくてただ会いたくて同じ空を見上げているよ世界中代わりはいないよ私だけのヒーロー 目立つのが苦手なところがちょっと可愛いヒーローまっすぐな瞳が大好きいつもどんな時も誰もまだ気づいてないけど私には君だけがずっとヒーロー
All right, that was the track Hero from the game Superman Super
Superman of Bomber.
Super Bomberman R for the Nintendo Switch. That's the ending theme song, Hero. It is composed by Sayumi Iwahashi with lyrics by Takaki Mizoguchi, credited as RUCCA, RUCCA. Yeah, and that just, I wanted to end the show with like a big anime theme song, you know, like just super happy, super pleasing.
And that entire game is pretty much just like very jovial, like doesn't take itself seriously at all. And like, I also look at Super Bomberman R as being like a surprise testament to like how a company should treat a game when they make a mistake, so to speak, because when it originally came out, like people were complaining about the controls not being responsive and all kinds of stuff. So Konami, keep in mind, this is Konami we're talking about, you know, famous for the F Konami, you know, staple line lately. They redid all the controls, fixed them up, and like then just started dumping free DLC in there like crazy. Just like, hey, thanks for buying our game. Sorry it started like this, but here's some cool stuff. Like cool characters, a bunch of new stages. It's just... It was really nice. Like I was very happy with that game.
Really fun, goofy game with a lot more fun, goofy options to throw into it. I love all the iterations of Bomberman. Well, not all of them. There's the weird Bomberman Zero.
Act Zero. No one talks about Act Zero.
When you said like
dead to us.
When you were saying that they were trying to like make up for past mistakes, I was like, oh, so you talking about Bomberman Zero because no one wants to play that game.
People try to forget that game.
But anyway, so for more information on the bonus round, go to rhythmandpixels.com. We'll have links to all of these artists, you know, Bandcamps and SoundClouds and bios and web pages, everywhere where you can go and find the music and buy the music and support these artists. All right, thanks for joining us on episode 27-7 of Rhythm and Pixels. This is our character crossover special, in which I find all the real crossovers and Purnell lies to you.
He imagines really cool ideas.
Gets into a dream world of what crossovers could be if people just got out of the way of themselves and follow
drop those licensing issues and just come together as a community and make those cool, fun games.
All those contracts, all those people signed, and all that hard work people put into those intellectual properties, just tear it up. It's gone. Don't worry about it.
I want a single player gaming community.
Yes. Just like one person in charge of everything, being like, I want that and I want that.
That's right.
You're like at a supermarket. You're just walking down the aisle. Like, I would like a little
smidge of Final Fantasy, a dose of Mario.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I had a really good time with this. Our last track is from the game Cannon Spike or Gunspike in Japan, which is a big Capcom crossover game with all sorts of Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins and Cammy from Street Fighter fighting together.
Of course, I bought it specifically because of Mega Man. So.
Oh, that's right. Mega Man was in that too, which is cool.
Any game that Mega Man guested in, aside from that one Onimusha game, I bought.
Marvel Capcom 2?
Mm-hmm. I bought it because of Mega Man.
What was that one shooter that had Morgan in it? It was like it's a bullet hell game.
A shooter?
Yeah. Gun... Smoke? Not Gunsmoke. Gun... Blade? No, not Gunblade.
I'm going to look that up later.
Gunbird 2.
Oh, shmup. Okay.
Yeah. You think
I was a shooter? Like she was carrying a gun around. Like
Yeah, I don't know how that was going. Everyone's flying in spaceship. No, in that game there was no spaceships. Everyone's like, there's like the girl on the broomstick.
On the
broomstick. Yeah, so that was a different one. It was like a robot flying around. That was a fun game. I got that one because I liked all the crazy characters in it, and that really pulled me in the shoot 'em ups again back in that time.
And then there was, of course, Cross Edge, the game that got panned to death, and yet somehow I played the living daylights out of it nonetheless.
But yeah. So, Pernell, final thoughts on crossovers? Good, bad, good?
Oh, it was a great episode. I just find myself now thinking, like I said, I want to revisit it with some more time and like preparing for it, and that I can be like, hey, now that this is good, I'm going to be like, here are actual game mechanic crossovers. Like, this is why I would want to see this happen, because I think this would be great for this franchise.
Yeah, I might do it that way too. And then we'll do another episode where it's the actual crossovers.
Yes, it's like, that's why I almost wish like listeners were like, hey, do this episode type again, because I feel like there are some seriously untapped fruit for like redos again, and I'm like, I never want to do it per se, only because I'm always finding myself thinking like we should be doing more, but we've done 200 plus episodes.
Yeah.
And we've done not a ton of repeats.
Well, this
on top of we've done a bunch, but
not a bunch, but we've done not a ton of them. We did have one of our listeners in our Discord server, Pixelated Poet, has been looking for workout music, like workout video game music. So maybe we can do another one of those.
Oh, that would be fun, especially because I'm still going through I'm heading towards 2 months of exercising every single day.
Yeah, that's
so
impressive.
That'll be a trip.
Very, very impressive.
Yeah. Like, even though I disappear from social media, like, my training has not stopped running. Like, though I will probably end up getting back into it eventually, because I feel like I'm not talking to people enough anymore, and it feels weird.
We'll pull you back, but I think a break is healthy. Like a little purge, like a little.
It's like drinking some grapefruit prune juice or something.
Yeah. It's what they call it, a cleanse. They call it a cleanse. You're cleansing your soul of Facebook.
Flush the social media.
Well, a lot has happened.
Like, hey
actually,
guys, what I missed?
You've missed. Did you know that you've missed a lot of news if you haven't been getting your news from Facebook? Do you know LeVar Burton is going to be one of the last guest hosts for Jeopardy?
Really?
Yeah.
Now, that sounds awesome.
I think
if I remember correctly, he wanted to do that for a while.
I think he said so, and I think mostly fans wanted to have him. I think he should be him or Ken Jennings should be like the final host going forward, like the host of the show.
Oh, I mean, LeVar Burton was notorious for getting people to read, which then allows them to become smart enough to be on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a nice reward, like putting them on the other end of the knowledge spectrum for once. It's like, I'm not telling you to start reading. I'm saying thank you for reading at all.
But for Jeopardy fans,
that's what you learned.
Jeopardy fans, Ken Jennings is like the Jeopardy.
Wasn't he the guy that just ran it for like...
Yeah.
He pretty much broke Jeopardy.
Yeah, not only because he's just a super smart dude, but he not only has like the most winnings and won the most games, he won all of like the championship rounds. And then there was a special one where they brought back the 3 best champions of the game. They called it the greatest of all time championship. And he swept it.
Swept it?
He swept it. He crushed them. It was almost no con. It was so good. And then
think about can you imagine there's still people out there? Can you picture the fact that there's still people out there that would watch an episode of Jeopardy and go, look at these dorks with their stupid books? Like, no. I could be the coolest pompadour wearing, shades motorcycle wearing,
they talk to the guys.
smash magash guy,
and one of the guys
I will never disparage the intellect that's required for friggin' Jeopardy.
You have to remember so much. And they talked to one of the guys, and he said, what have you been doing with your time? And he's like, well, I was on the show for so long, and I made so much money. Like, being on Jeopardy was like my career move. Like, I was a career Jeopardy player at one point.
I can see it, because some of those prizes are like yearly salaries.
Yeah, they is. And now, like, I would say if Ken Jennings becomes the primary host of the show, it's like now they have to give him a job. It's like it's
full circle
now.
The only downside is I can picture him being up on the stage doing the questions and someone gets it wrong and he's just like rolling his eyes like, oh, come on, that was so easy.
Well, let me tell you, man,
I would have gotten it.
Alex Trebek was no slouch either. Like, it was a smart guy. Like he knew a lot of that information. So anyway, we're talking about Jeopardy for some reason. I kind of miss it. I don't have like regular TV, so I've been watching reruns on Netflix. If you would like to talk to us about Netflix or Jeopardy, or if you have a topic suggestion, or if you want to say hello to us, the best way to do that is over email.
rhythmandpixels@hotmail.com.
They're going to say, what is Rhythm and Pixels?
No, that's for the website.
That's what I was like. And for more information about our show, a full track listing from all of our episodes, and access to all of our episodes, head to the website.
What is rhythmandpixels.com?
Thank you. You are correct. $400. Daily double. We also and you can catch us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. It's Rhythm and Pixels, all one word. We have a 24/7 radio station playing nothing but 8-bit and 16-bit classics. That's on youtube.com/Rhythm and Pixels, and it's over on twitch.tv/Rhythm and Pixels. So it's playing there. You can hear all sorts of music. We have lots of playlists from. It's all curated music from me and Pernell and from some other people in the VGM podcast community. You can check out our Discord server. You can find that link on our website. There's lots of people talking there. A lot popping, a lot happening on the Discord server. Popping, yeah, thanks.
Bringing that one back. What's popping?
It's popping, man. Make it pop. And then we also have some new T-shirts available on the website, rhythmandpixels.com/merch. So there's some fun stuff, like some of the classic stuff, like the classic logo. You can get the classic hip hop shirt, Run VGM. And now like we also have some classic game logos on shirts, like game music companies.
The sound teams.
Yeah, the sound teams. Yes, we have the SNK sound team. We have Mega Drive. We have Konami.
Falcom.
Yeah, we have Falcom. And we also have the one from Taito. Zuntata.
Yeah, there it was. And it's amazing I didn't remember it because Zuntata is the logo is very prominent in Groove Coaster.
I think I have it on our last episode where I couldn't remember the name of it. I'm hoping that didn't come out in the recording because I'm like, yeah, of course I should know Zuntata. Anyway, we have all of those logos and we have all of those graphics on T-shirts and hoodies and all sorts of stuff. Check that out on the website. And then you can also, if you want to help us out, if you feel generous, you can go to patreon.com/rhythmandpixels. As a member there, you get access to a weekly prequel episode and a monthly live streamed recorded episode. And then at the end of every episode, we'd like to say thank you to our highest tiered members. Frankly Zappa, Mike Myers, Fashion 8060, That Nick Walker, Ed Wilson of the VG Embassy, Mats Holmqvist, Michael Jennings, Davey Cakes, Justin Schneider from XVGM Radio, Sonic Medley, Taco, Harold Howard, Dave Taylor, Reinhard Zelkova, Andreas Milberg. I'm sorry.
Got the sniffles.
No, it's allergies. Reinhard Zelkova, Andreas Milberg, Dan Loughton, Sleepy S'more, Steve Miller, The Autistic Gamer 89, Cameron Worma, Christopher Senstrom, Bobby Arson from One Up Funk, Wicked Sephiroth, Carlos from the Heroes 3 podcast, Michael Bridgewater from the Forever Sound Version podcast, and Brian Pitt. So thank you all very much for your continued support of our little program that we do.
Very appreciated. It's always, trust, it's very appreciated. Nice little bit of light in a crazy world.
Yes, and maybe soon I'll have to set up a second microphone back in the studio again, you know?
Yes, because we got vaccinated and I'm like one of the only people I know who's had no side effects.
I'm a little worried about
I genuinely think that I joke around like I must have got injected with water.
I am concerned that you haven't had any side effects because that should be. I mean, it's like what is happening with your immune system? They see the virus,
overdrive.
Like, come on in, don't worry about it.
It's that blood type, baby. O negative.
The O negative blood type. Okay. It makes you
because at the time, because keep in mind. It was speculation because that's how it is with science. They based on our sightings and what we come to see.
And we only have
one of the things they came up with was that people with O negative blood are less susceptible to coronavirus. Period. It's just doesn't hit them that hard, if at all. So it's not to say it's impossible to get it. It's just you're very much less likely to get it. So it was maybe that translates to the vaccine too.
Maybe. I think that's interesting if that's the case because. I remember hearing about that, but I'm not so sure.
Throughout this whole thing, I've been dumping blood to people like gangbusters. It's take all the blood. You need it, get it.
So I'm looking forward to that, and it's been a long time since we've really done that. So, I mean, that'll
be fun. And just think of the delivery. It's going to go up 90%.
First episode back here is the jingles episode because we can actually sing at the same time.
Oh, that is true.
That,
Fresh with better will
that's gonna have to be
come,
that'll
songs
be a
go
live
better
show.
in
That'll be a
life.
special live program. Robin Purnell singing dumb songs.
Because VGM is for our life. Nothing gets to you. Playing jams right and cool. Because VGM is for our life.
I'm gonna put some music behind that. All right. Thank you everyone for listening to the show. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch Purnell and I on XVGM Radio. Yeah, XVGM Radio with Mike and Justin in a couple weeks. So check out that podcast. We
It
just
will be
come
a
on,
blast.
give them a hard time, and make a big problem for all their editing.
But they had fun, so I think it balanced out.
We do things a little loose over here. But yeah, I think I had a good time. So check that out for sure. Thanks for listening. My name is Rob Nichols.
And I'm Purnell.
Have a very safe week. We'll see you next time.
And remember, seriousness is all well and good. Good God, we're inundated with it constantly. But two things come out of it in recent events, generally, just stuff which I won't mention. One, imagination is absurdly important for people, and I think a lot of people have generally kind of forgotten what imagination feels like, not in a negative sense, but more in a, again, we're just inundated with a need to be serious all the time, which kind of drains out the ability to kind of step away from that and just kind of see things from a more colorful perspective. Get back in touch with your imagination, because it is a powerful tool, both in just making you feel better about things and making you feel more like uplifted, but also for the second element being critical thinking. Get back in touch with that if you let it go. If you didn't, just keep doing it because it's something that I feel is also becoming more of a lost art form. And I say that in the sense of just like, not every situation is the same. Not every scenario is the same. Not everything is as simple always as it's laid out to be. Just open your mind and think about stuff more. Your personal life, your expanded life, everything. Critical thinking will get you so far. And you'll also be able to feel that much more confident in every choice and decision you make. It's just important. Sometimes I'm a little too critical, but at the same time, I mean, you listen to the show, you see what kind of weird crap comes out of my head. Critical thinking, baby. It's fun sometimes. Make it happen.